Okay, Karen.
Yes.
Can I vent for a second?
Can you vent?
Vent.
Okay,
Vent.
I said
Can I-
invent. I was like, sure. What are you going to make?
I mean,
You can vent.
venting I'm good at.
As long as
Inventing,
it's not about me.
not so much. No.
Okay.
How many times have I manifested something
Mhm.
only to watch it quietly unravel like a cheap Amazon box 2 weeks later? Right? A lot.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. See, this is a problem that keeps plaguing me. I found that all the effort I'm putting into it,
Mhm.
all the vision boards I've created, and all the good vibes I'm putting out in the universe, they're not the problem.
Oh, why are you looking at me? I'm not the problem.
No, what the problem actually is that I think I'm manifesting on top of patterns I didn't know were actually running the show. So I'm doing it sight unseen, not realizing that I'm just not, it's not anchoring
I
in.
don't even understand what that means.
Well, today, I brought in someone with a resume twist that you're not going to see coming.
Okay.
See, she went from high-powered real estate to asking a much bigger question. And the question is, why does reality keep snapping back to the same outcomes? What she's found wasn't another healing modality. It was distortion patterns baked into the blueprint itself, the kind that make manifestation temporary, timelines sticky, and growth feel like pushing a boulder uphill spiritually.
And you suck at baking.
Big time.
So
Wait, I don't suck. I make mean bread.
it is me.
Yeah. All right. Well, today our guest is going to walk us through why most manifestations don't last, how timeline jumping actually works without the sci-fi nonsense, and why changing frequency at the blueprint level is different from just managing your energy. So if you're tired of fixing the same issue in a new costume, and if you think trying harder is what finally is going to flip that switch, what if the real shift happens when you change the pattern underneath and reality has no choice but to follow? That's the premise of today's episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey there, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
Welcome back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians, where today we're talking quantum shifts, timeline jumps, and why your reality keeps snapping back like a rubber band you never authorized.
Ooh.
Those hurt. Today's show may get the tiniest bit confusing only because our guest today is another Karen.
Oh.
This time, Karen Cheong. This Karen has spent decades working at the intersection of pattern recognition, frequency, and real-world results, helping people understand why change doesn't stick and how to shift things at the level where reality actually reorganizes itself.
I like that.
Yeah, I knew you would. Karen Cheong, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, I don't think I could have had asked for a better welcome than that. I'm so happy to be here.
You know
So
what?
thank you.
It really warms us whenever someone says that to us, because I worked really hard on that.
He did.
Yeah, well, I don't think people realize actually how hard it is to script something funny. It's actually difficult.
That wasn't a script. That was
I thought you were going to say that wasn't
Never
funny.
your banter.
All right, Karen. I just want to dive right into it because this topic is really very close to my heart, and it is something that has been perplexing me for so long. Everyone who listens to the show knows how much I've tried. I'm working, and people say I'm working too hard, and this might explain all of it. So
she's like the quantum eraser
the quantum,
because she's erasing the plans.
or maybe just shifting the blueprint.
Well, that's what I meant. Erase it and then redraw.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
When people say things like me, like that, we keep ending up in the same place, even though we put in a ton of work. What actually is happening beneath the surface?
Sure. So I actually, I think I'm more of like a quantum editor. Let's put it that way.
Ah,
okay.
okay.
I like that.
Okay.
So she's quantum red pen.
Yes, quantum red pen. Scratching out all the stuff that doesn't work, that's too much fluff, and making your copy of your life too dense and heavy.
Right.
So essentially, why is that happening? So it's funny because I think when people want to have change. We run around in our physical lives
Mhm.
thinking, okay, I've got to do all this stuff, right? I've got to like do all these things in the physical, and then things might change on the spiritual, and then things in my life might change. But actually, it's the inverse, meaning that everything follows a higher resonating order. So if you change things at the level of frequency or the quantum, the physical will reorganize around it because the physical is denser. So let me just back up and give more context because some people might be like, what?
Me, yeah.
Oh. All right, fair enough. Well, anybody watching this show knows this very basic premise, which is that everything is vibrating.
Mhm.
Now, the thing that the thing that matters is the rate of vibration. Because if you take something like water, which is vibrating really fast, when the molecules are vibrating that fast, it's steam. And when that molecular vibration slows down, it becomes liquid. And when the molecular vibration slows down even more, it becomes ice or density or form, right? So the rate of vibration dictates the form.
Okay.
But if you take that idea and you extrapolate it all the way out to consciousness or oneness or pure source or whatever you want to call it, if you take it all the way out to that sort of level, which is vibrating at a rate that we can't possibly even fathom and even measure with our sort of physical tools, that is a rate of vibration, like I said, that's not measurable yet, with our physical tools. But that vibration, because it's the oneness, it experiences one, everythingness. So in order to have something other than just this expansive infinite oneness, there needs to be a drop in vibration or a drop in resonance. As soon as you have that drop in resonance where the oneness realizes, oh, wait, there's something else than just the oneness, frequencies are formed. And when frequencies, or the vibrational level, I should say, drops even further, it becomes what we talk about as energy. And then when that vibrational rate drops even more, it becomes density, form, or matter. So the thing is, when we think about our reality, we focus on the density or the form or that compressed vibration, when really everything happens first at the frequency level. So if you change things there, like I said at the very beginning, the physical or things that are less high in vibration will reorganize to match what is, indicated or set at the higher resonating order. So then you might ask yourself, well, okay, well then why do I keep bumping into this same thing over and over again? Why can't I manifest? Now, I just want to say this. You might be a brilliant manifester. You might be amazing at it. But if you're running distortion patterns of low self-worth or non-deserving or lack of trust in self or fear on some, whatever the thing it is that you're experiencing in terms of a distortion, which I'll get to in just a minute, whatever you manifest will always be conditioned by those distortions. It's kind of like, we all assume where there are these really clear signals that are broadcasting out to the universe, like these clear, like radio signals, when really there's all this static around us. It's like, right? And so here you are thinking you're broadcasting this thing, but it's going through all these layers of static. So what does the universe hear? It's like, oh, what? You want what? And then it gives it back to you, you see. So it's not that you suck at manifesting necessarily. That's not it. It's that you have all these distortion patterns that are creating the static in your field that the universe receives. And then the universe is like, okay, well, sure, I'll give you that. You know what I mean? And then that's why you keep snapping back to it. The other reason, and I'm sorry, I know I'm going on for a little bit here, but there's another dynamic that's really important. So you are a powerful creator being. Okay, so here you are, you have all the static, right? But you're also a creator being. So that means that your reality is a reflection of the emanation or the frequency resonance that you are. So here you are, you receive the static back, and you're like, well, that's not really what I wanted, right? And then you think to yourself, oh man, that didn't work again. I don't know why I keep trying this. There's nothing I can do. I can't get over this thing. And what do you create more of? That disempowerment. Do you see how those two dynamics happen at the same time and they're not awesome?
Yeah.
So that's what's happening.
Definitely not awesome. Definitely not
No.
awesome.
So how do you make it stop?
Well, it's funny. It's going to sound overly simple, but it's actually really true. Things on the spirit level from my experience anyway, are not very complicated. We make them complicated as humans. It's simply to release your distortion patterns, because it's kind of like, think of yourself as like a hot air balloon, okay? And you have all these sandbags.
You got a lot of hot air.
I was waiting for you to say that,
A
actually.
lot of hot air.
I was going to say, I've been accused of something similar. Yeah.
All right. Well, in order for the hot air balloon to rise, you got to chuck out the sandbags, right? So a lot of the sandbags are really representations of those distortion patterns, because if you think about it, a distortion pattern is lower in resonance. It's heavier. Okay. So when you start to release the distortion pattern, what happens as a natural consequence is that your frequency resonance rises. You don't even have to really intend it. If you release the lower, heavier, denser patterns, naturally, as a direct consequence of that, your resonance rises. Now, you might ask yourself, well, why do I care about my resonance rising? Well, your resonance rising matters because it affects everything. Okay, everything from how you feel, what you can manifest, what timelines you have access to, your perspective, your thoughts, your emotions. So it's literally like, if you imagine there's this field of the infinite, right? So Deepak Chopra has been writing about the field since like the 1980s, right? And then McTaggart's been writing about the field. Like all these people have been writing about the field. But why don't we get access to the bloody infinite field of infinite? Like, why don't I get whatever I want, right? Okay, well, the reason is because imagine that you're looking through this tiny keyhole. And the keyhole is dictated by your distortion. So instead of seeing the whole field of the infinite, all you see is what you see through this keyhole. But as you release your distortion patterns and your frequency resonance rises, the keyhole starts to do this. So that means that what you see, what you can access, what you can experience of the field of the infinite expands, which means that everything changes. Like I said, from your perspective, your feelings, your emotions, what you manifest, how brilliant you are, the timelines you experience, who you meet, all that stuff changes because now you have an access point to the infinite that is much higher in resonance than it was before.
So recently I saw the movie Age of Disclosure, and people are going to ask, why are you talking about UFO documentary? Well, there's a very specific reason. In the documentary, they talked about the technology that they believe that these UFOs, the UAPs they're calling them now, are using. And basically the craft is enveloped in a time and space bubble that alters, that distorts space-time. And that's how they're able to move so quickly and without liquefying the passengers or the pilots inside the craft, that kind of thing. These distortions sound like, so if someone gets close to it, like someone takes a picture of it, it's going to come out fuzzy because they're actually shooting through a space-time distortion. I'm thinking these things might be something like we are wrapped in these distortion fields, and that's why we are not quite grasping what's happening. Now, are these similar to like limiting beliefs or subconscious programming, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so distortions are, okay, so let me just back up. So if you imagine yourself, this is how I perceive us. Okay, so I perceive us as spheres of pure source energy vibrating at a very specific rate. The rate of vibration is very unique to you. It's what individuates you. It's what causes you to be you and me to be me. Okay, so when you have the desire to come into incarnation or to form, right? And you, just FYI for everyone listening, you chose this. You wanted to have the experience of embodiment because 99.999999% of the all that is quote unquote nothing. But it's not nothing. It's just not in form. It's actually consciousness, which is a much higher resonance. And only 0.0, whatever many zeros that is, 0.00001% of everything is form. So you get the amazing experience of being in form, even though it can suck sometimes and it's uncomfortable and we can rail against it. You get to experience something very rare. So you chose it. I just want to say that because there's so much in the spiritual community about trying to get rid of form. Your form is a glorious thing. And believe me, I know it can be really painful and uncomfortable at times. However, so here we are as a sphere of pure source energy. And as you drop into embodiment, it's a drop in vibrational level. It must be, because here you was consciousness, right? Higher rate of vibration, and you're dropping into form, denser rate of vibration. When that happens, what looks like layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of duct tape form around the sphere. Now, the sphere, there's nothing wrong with the sphere. It's not damaged. It's still awesome. But what happens with it is that does a couple things. One is it forgets that it's surrounded by pure source energy all around it. It completely forgets. And the other thing is its rate of vibration slows down, because if you've ever picked up a ball of duct tape, you know how heavy that is. So imagine your rate of vibration has now just dropped. So the thing is, here you are kind of like sludgy, and we don't really recognize our own brilliance in the sludginess. Now, what are the layers of duct tape? Well, the layers of duct tape are metaphors for your distortion patterns. Now, where did your distortion patterns come from? Well, they came from things like what your ancestors have experienced. So if you know anything about the field of epigenetics, right, this is the field that Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton talk about a lot. You'll know that what your ancestors experience very much influences your field. Even though you might not know your great-great-great-grandmother's name, what she experienced absolutely has an impact on you, what your DNA expresses, the choices you make, all that stuff. You also, of course, have your cultural patterning. You have your religious patterning. And even if you're not particularly religious right now, you grew up in a household that was agnostic, let's just say, I can guarantee you that your ancestors were absolutely influenced by religion. And then, of course, you have your past lives. Now, that's like a little short list of the things that cause the most of those layers that are around us. But the cool thing is that as you start to release them, the sphere does something remarkable. It starts to vibrate faster, and the sphere likes vibrating faster. We all do. It feels good to us. We start to brighten, and it feels less heavy, and your perspective changes. And so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the sphere starts to vibrate faster, which causes more of the distortion to come off, and it causes a lot of people to want to release that distortion. So, and you start to feel lighter, brighter, heavy, and just everything in your life can start to really change. So an example of that would be, let's say, for example, I had a client who came to me, and she was really struggling in her business, because she was about to have what she called a business divorce, because she and her business partner were really not getting along at all.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, and it sucks because, she's the main breadwinner and she has kids. And so she's really freaking out, because she's like, oh my God, if this business breaks up and blows up, I don't know how I'm going to provide for my kids. So there's a lot of pressure there. So anyway, she didn't know what to do. She'd read 100 million self-help books and was doing a bunch of different stuff. And somehow she found me through a friend. And she started listening to what I call group frequency calibrations. And she didn't really know why she was listening to them. She just knew that it made her feel relaxed. Honestly, that was her gateway. She's like, I feel more relaxed. I don't have as much of a chattery mind. And then as she started to do the work of releasing her distortion patterns, she started to feel better and better. And weird things started to happen really quickly. So within a couple of weeks, she had gotten to the point with her business partner, they couldn't even have a conversation. They could, in the same room, they would just end up screaming at each other. So, but what was weird was somehow her perspective started to open, and she was like, oh, I kind of see why this person's feeling this way. So her own position, her own way of being with her business partner changed, and they started to have dialogue, and they started to have a conversation. Now, also for context, this person had been working 14-hour days, because she was so driven by her own scarcity. So she's working 14-hour days. She's working in this tiny little office in her house with no windows. She doesn't see her kids. She's freaking out because she doesn't know if this business is going to implode. And all of a sudden things start to shift. So not only is she having conversation with her business partner in a different way, they start to change how they're doing business. She starts to continue to remove her distortions. They hire a team. She goes from working from 12 hours a day to 6 hours a day, because she's releasing a whole bunch of patterns on low self-worth, non-deserving, a whole bunch of stuff. Her resonance keeps rising. Her business, even though she's working fewer hours, starts to really amplify, because all of a sudden, out of left field comes all of these different collaboration opportunities. Strategic partners start reaching out. Her business revenues starts to amplify at an extraordinary rate. So her life starts to really change because she's releasing these distortion patterns. Now, she will tell you herself, I did not come in thinking any of this was possible. I just wanted to feel more relaxed. Okay? That's why I listened to the group frequency calibrations. And then something started to change within me. And her physical reality changed so fast that within a year, not only is her business doing really well, she and her business partner have an entirely different relationship. She has team. She spends time with her kids. She does yoga in the morning before she starts. She's not working in this tiny office. She actually enjoys the view. All these things have changed, including her perspective and how she feels about everything. So distortions really dictate everything about how you feel and what you see in your reality.
Right.
Release those, everything changes.
So, can someone else's distortions affect you? Like, if going back to this client of yours, say her business partner had all these terrible distortions, and that was causing her reality or whatever to be unsuccessful and the business to not work. Then,
Mhm.
then your client who started raising, getting rid of these distortions and her vibration started raising, could she still not be successful in her business because the business wasn't being successful for the partner?
Yeah. So I think this is a perfect time to talk about timelines. Okay, since you
That was
asked
the
that
word
question.
I couldn't think of, yeah.
So here's the thing. So first, to answer your question, can
Mhm.
somebody who is having a meltdown in front of you affect you? Yes, but the thing is that's wonderful is that as you raise your resonance and as you release your distortions, you're less triggered by things you used to be triggered by. So the partner's response, your kids whatever, your mom telling you whatever, your partner saying that about you, no longer triggers you in the same way. It's really fascinating because the trigger point is actually your response to it is an indication of a distortion that you've held. Release the distortion, trigger goes away. So you start to feel more neutral and more centered. And you would be shocked how many emails we have being like, I just had a conversation with my sister or my fill in the blank, and she said whatever she normally says, and I didn't have any response, not in a bad way, but in a way of like, I just felt calm within myself and neutral. And I was like, okay, well, she's having that response and it doesn't really impact me. And it doesn't mean that the person is non-feeling. It just doesn't disrupt their inner calm.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I mean by that. So there's that perspective. And then also, we have to remember that there are infinite number of timelines in the field of the infinite. Okay. So again, what gives you access to certain timelines? I'm just going to back up also. What the hell's a timeline? Just want to like a lot about timelines in the social media realm.
Mhm.
Okay. So a timeline is a very human construct. Okay. Because linear time only exists as a human construct because everything on the dimensional orders that are higher than ours is in the eternal now. Now, a lot of people probably have heard about the eternal now. The eternal now is everything happening all at once. Okay. That's really what truly happens because it's the ever expansive, infinite eternal now. The thing is, at the level of the eternal now, you're operating as consciousness, which means that you can process the infiniteness of everything happening all at once. But as a human, your brain can't do that. Okay. Your brain is amazing. Your mind can be spectacular, but it cannot process everything all at once. We can barely like understand more than a million. They've done these studies where like at some point we can't like process infinite. Okay. So the thing is, what we do with our minds is we compress time, right? Just kind of like with music. If you hear music live, there's like all this sound and all this like information in it. If you put it on a CD, there's all this like quality of sound. But if you compress it into an MP3 in order to send it from my phone to your phone, you lose a lot of that quality of sound. You have to, in order to make it smaller, to go from my phone to your phone. We do the same thing with time in order for us to like understand it with our minds. And we have something called, whoops, just lost this. So that's why we have something called past, present, and future in order for our minds to start to understand it. Okay. So what is a timeline? Okay. Now that we understand that there's two different forms of time. All right. So a timeline is a trajectory in time of your life experience. Okay. And the reason I say it's a human construct is because time as linear time only exists as a human construct, like I said. So that means that whatever you experience in this lifetime is set by a certain resonance. That means that the experience that you have of certain people is a certain way. So in lower level timelines, it's sort of like, people are a certain way. So if you think of the movies like, Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow or like the butterfly effect, you meet someone and then something changes in your life. It's kind of like that. Okay. So different people in your life are certain ways. But when you start to move into higher level timelines, you're meeting not only a different version of you, you're meeting a different version of them. Now, in the movies, it's very like amplified, right? It's like all of a sudden, like your sister is dead, or she's now like this, amazing person instead of being this horrible person in this other one, right? It's very exaggerated. But in the infinite, it's like these micro like changes between resonances. But the higher timelines you experience, the different versions of people that show up. So what happened for her, to get back to my story of this woman and her business partner, as she's raising her resonance, her experience of her timelines is shifting. She's entering higher level ones. So therefore, not only is she changing, but the version of her business partner is not the same. So now, it's because we always think of it as static, like it's one thing that we're always on all the time, but it's not. So that version of her changes. So if you think about it, now you might think like, well, I don't know that I've ever really experienced different timelines. You have, you just haven't realized it. So like, just think about it, right? There are times in your life where like you said yes to something or no to something, and then you met a person or you took a course or you did something. And if you look back at that moment in time, if you had not said yes or no, the way your life looks right now would not be the same. You switched timeline trajectories. You didn't know it, but you did. When you raise your resonance, you get more, not only choice in terms of like what it is that you get to experience. And I'm not meaning specifically, because there's a lot of weirdness out there about like specifically choose your timeline. If you're really resonating at a higher level resonance, you don't need to specifically choose anything because you're in surrender to the all that is. So it's like you just get to experience timelines where there's more abundance and more joy and more openness and whatever. Now, is there challenge? Of course, because that's how you learn and you grow, but what the challenges look like and how you feel about them changes. So, yeah.
So it's the adage, if you want to change the world, start by changing yourself.
Yeah.
Rings super true at this point. Well, I want to step back just for a second because, and I do want to continue talking about timeline shifts because I've got a very interesting thought about it. But going back to the distortion fields and to Karen's question is about, does your distortion field affect other people? If what I learned a lot just now in the last 20 minutes of talking to you or listening to you.
Okay, great.
The most important thing that I learned was that it's actually my great grandfather's fault, not mine. Okay, so that's good. Okay? But then
Phew, you can sleep now.
Right. But then a bigger question propped up in my mind is that, well, hell, if I don't clear these distortion fields, is it going to then affect my daughter? And so it does. I have a responsibility to change, to release my distortion fields so my daughter doesn't have to face the same challenges that I have been facing my entire life.
Or if she doesn't have the distortion fields, would she shift over into a timeline where she experiences a different version of you?
No, my daughter stays with me. But is that the case? Is like, do we have to change? Otherwise, my daughter is destined to go through the same challenges?
Well, like I said, all things exist in the field of the infinite, right? So she's like all these different versions of her out there. So there are versions of her where she's like thriving, amazing, glorious, awesome. And there are versions of her that are less awesome. Okay. And she has free will, just like you do. And so what she chooses matters in terms of what she experiences. Now, as her father, does what you choose impact her? It does. It impacts her more when she's younger, like if she were less than 5, because she's more in your field at that point. She isn't running her own patterns to the same degree. She isn't as conditioned in the same way. She's less of an identity of her. Make sense? Because she's under 5. So she's this little young child and she's more in your field than she is like really sort of developed into her own person, let's just say. Right. So what you choose to do in terms of releasing your patterns has more direct influence on her then. That said, it doesn't mean you don't have influence over her. As you clarify yourself, or meaning as you release your distortion patterns, definitely your resonance starts to rise. So in response to you, she has a response, because it's just imagine, right? So most of us prefer to hang out with the person who's like more fun, more joyful, more happy, like just generally more content, at peace with themselves, than someone who's like miserable, depressed, sad, right? I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. So she's going to want to train up. It's like you hold the possibility for her of something that's clearer and brighter. And there's something within her. Remember, we are all these spheres of vibrating pure source energy that wants to experience more clarity. We want to vibrate faster and higher because that's our nature. We want to remember who we truly are. So what happens is she's like, that's weird. Dad feels better to me. I don't know how. he feels better to me, but he does. And so what she does, depending on how old she is that it will cause her to it will mirror to her the possibility of her doing that for herself, which is a powerful thing, right? It's like because you hold that possibility in you. And then of course, we not only impact our direct lineage and the people that you directly come into contact with, the people that you're with all the time, every day, but you start to have more and more impact indirectly, right? Because the emanation of you is getting higher. And it's not like a 1-to-1 ratio of I interact with this person and they change. You start to have more and more influence in a way that you don't know. So, there's this wonderful story that I heard once of this man who, he was being honored for some invention that he'd made that had helped save the lives of thousands of people. And he had invited his best friend from childhood to the event ceremony. And when he got up and he went to accept his award, he was saying, the person I want to thank in this audience is my best friend from when I was 14. And the reason I want to thank him is because there was a day that you don't remember when we were, 14 years old, and you had just come to visit me, and you didn't tell me you were coming to visit me. You just did that day. But what you didn't know was that day I was planning to kill myself. But because you stopped by and you were who you were, I somehow made a different choice. And I didn't kill myself that day. I did something else. And as a result of that interaction, that person, by the way, the friend had never heard this, okay, until that moment in time. I chose something different. And now I stand here having helped thousands of you because of this one person's actions that they weren't even aware of at the time. So when your emanation gets higher in resonance, you don't know who you're impacting. I know we have a very vested sort of interest as humans, I did this and it caused that. But the thing is, in the nonlinear field of the quantum, you don't necessarily know what your impact is, right? You can be impacting all kinds of people through the ripple effect of the emanation of who you are. And the thing is, you might never know what it is that you have done in terms of your resonance and how you were in that moment. But I can guarantee you that ripple effect is happening through the field. And that's how we rise in our resonance. So someone else asked the question, well, does my distortion affect someone else? Yeah, it does. And so it's a kind of really wonderful level of accountability because you're like, well, I can change that. I can change the impact I have because I can release my distortions. We have gotten to the point in consciousness, which is spectacular, where we can actually work at the level of the quantum, at the level of frequency, release these patterns. Now, I'm not saying that, in the work that I do, it's like the Karen show, this Karen show. I'm going to wave my little magic wand over you, sprinkle some fairy dust, and you're going to poof into awaken and life is going to be glorious. Okay? Because this is a free will planet. It is your journey. It is your glorious opportunity to experience and transcend and to recognize and come into your own brilliance, which means that, yes, Karen may release something at the level of the quantum, your distortion patterns, which is an amazing head start, but you have free will. So it's up to you to be aware of your patterns and then go through this process I call confirm the removal, which doesn't take very long. It can actually just take a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes, and you release it out of your field because you ultimately have free will. And it's funny because I feel like in the spiritual communities, we will often give away our power to the guru or the healer or the whomever, some, ascended being, a star being, whatever. But look, you are a being with free will. No one can do this other than you, which could be kind of scary, but it's also tremendously exciting because it really comes down to your choices. So to me, that's an exciting thing.
So
I've got 50 questions.
I know, but I'm going first. I'm buttoning with mine. How do you even begin to release these distortions if you don't even see them? Because I'm assuming a lot of these are subconscious and
well, that's where my question came from. It was epigenetics. If I wasn't conscious of these things that my great-grandfather inherited into me, how's my daughter going to be conscious enough to change them? If I don't change them, I need to get her off. But sorry, go ahead. So how do you?
No, how do you even know that you have these distortions? How do you know what to release? That wasn't your question.
Okay.
It was related because it was subconscious, the epigenetic aspect of what gives us our distortions we don't even realize. It's inside of us.
Right. And no, I'm asking, how do you get rid of something you don't realize you even have?
Well, you kind of realize that you do because you just don't realize what it is. So
Right.
it's the place where you keep running into a wall no matter what you throw at it, right? So whether you're experiencing trouble in the physical body, in your relationships, in manifestation, in abundance, in whatever,
Mhm.
all right? Whatever it is, you know that you're hitting this wall over and over and over again, and it's painful for you. That's how you know that you are experiencing a distortion. Okay. So even if you take like my story. So when I was in San Francisco and working in real estate with my husband and partner, Chris, we were doing really well. Okay. So from the outside, it looked amazing because we had a really successful business. We had a little team. We were one of the top producers in the city. We loved our clients. We only worked by referral. We did not work with douchebags. That was our rule. We're like, if they are a jerk, we don't work for them because we work really hard for our clients. And so yeah, not going to waste my time with you. So, anyway, from the outside, it looked amazing, right? But for me personally, despite all the money in the bank and all this affluence and getting to travel and all that sort of stuff, for me, I was experiencing scarcity all the time. I was always driven by it's not enough, it's not enough. So I would drive our team, I would drive my husband, and I would drive me the hardest to make sure that we were always working really hard to make sure that we had enough. And so this I was and so what I would do often, my little tell for like the fact that I was totally freaked out most of the time, is that I would spreadsheet how much cushion we had before we had to sell our house and move in with my parents. Now, I'm not sure why that was like the horrible end, but that is what I was spreadsheeting,
I
okay?
mean, anytime you
And
go,
so
you have to move in with your parents. That's a pretty horrible thought. So I totally get it there, Karen.
yeah, I know. Yeah, so I was just like, I really just don't want to do that, and I'm from a Chinese lineage where there's this like, all this pressure to succeed and be affluent. Anyway, whatever. So, and I was not feeling that way. I was feeling the opposite, no matter how many awards we won and whatnot. So anyway, I knew something was wrong. And I had been doing a lot of internal work, right? So I'd been doing personal development and I'd been exploring different spiritual modalities. And I've been doing it for like over 25 years. And because I was the way I was implementing because I'm like, okay, well, that sounds great. Does it work? You know what I mean? I would just, I'm like, okay, let me just try it and see what would happen. And so some things worked, some things didn't. And no matter what I did, I still couldn't get rid of the stupid scarcity stuff. And I was just like, and I think I was driving Chris a little bit mental, to be honest, because it was just such a hard drive. And I started asking this question to the universe. I was like, what am I missing? What am I missing? Okay, because clearly I'm missing something. So not only was I feeling scarcity, but I noticed that there was sort of like a ceiling to what it is that we were able to generate from, in terms of our earnings. And we had colleagues who were doing much less for their clients and yet earning more. And I'm like, okay, it's definitely missing something. And it's only when I found frequency work and I started releasing my distortions. So I found it in the weirdest way. Okay. So, when you start asking the question often enough, I don't know if you notice this in your own lives, but if you ask a question often enough to like the universe, you get this answer in the like oddest of ways. I happened to be sitting on my acupuncturist table after I'd come back from this journey to France. And she asked me as I was getting off the table, have you ever heard of frequency work? And it was kind of like, that scene in The Matrix when Neo, the first one, okay? So this like really
The
like
good one.
OG,
Right.
like the good one. Yeah, the first one.
Right.
Yeah, that was awesome, right? So he goes backwards and all the bullets go flying by him and like slow motion and he picks one out of the air. Yeah, that scene.
Right.
Okay. Well, I had that kind of experience of time for the first time in that moment. It was a very mundane 40-something-year-old woman's experience in like San Francisco, but still, it was my experience of that because as I was turning, I could see every angle of the room. It's like time just got really slow. So I realized in that moment, I was like, I don't, but I need to. And so I just started doing frequency work because I just wanted to not feel crappy. And it's funny because the first time I ever experienced it, I didn't feel anything, but I knew something had changed. So I kept doing it. I'm kind of funny that way. I'm just like, I don't really understand it, but that's okay. And within a couple of weeks, Chris says to me, hey, have you noticed that you haven't been spreadsheeting lately? And I'm like, no, I had noticed that I hadn't been spreadsheeting. And I was like, oh, I haven't been spreadsheeting. This is amazing. And so then I kept doing it because I was just like, well, if I feel like this, like what else can change? So that's when I started doing it really intensively. And that's when, after of like just because I'm like this, after about 2 years of intensive release, that's what led me to this 9-hour meditation that I had, which I was not planning. Believe me, I wasn't like, gee, today I would love to do a 9-hour meditation. That sounds amazing. But I had it without intending it. And that's when I merged back into the oneness and perceived everything as frequencies and knew that I could change things at that level. We all can. We just don't remember that we can at this moment, but we all can.
Yep.
So, and then that's when things began, basically, for me.
Karen, you are speaking my language. Like we are right. I'm right there on the same wavelength. If we talk about frequencies, we are firing the same frequency, but there's one thing missing. What the heck is frequency work? What are you doing? How did you do it?
Sorry. Answer that.
I just picture you shaking. Come on.
Oh, frequency work is when someone, okay, so you can't learn frequency work. A lot of people ask me, how do you learn it? Okay, well, it doesn't have to do with a learning because it's not from the mind. It has to do with the resonance level. So when I pierced that veil of forgetting and entered the oneness, the resonance level of me shifted and I could perceive it a different way. So what I perceive now and have since then is the quantum field. So everything in the quantum field is a wave. So to me, and I'm not saying this is the truth for everybody, it's for me, my experience of it, is I literally kind of hear kind of like like I can feel the waves of potential in the quantum field because nothing's solid in the quantum field. It's all wave. It doesn't, what makes something solid is our focus. It's what turns a wave into particle or matter.
Right.
I mean, there's a double slit experiment. I mean, this is like
Schrodinger's cat and not right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So for me, I perceive at the level of the right? At the wave level. And so what I do is, okay, so what are your distortions? Like, why the hell do you have them? Why are they still there? Why can't you not release them? Because remember when I said that you're a powerful creator being? You experience everything through your distortions. Okay, so you believe that that's your reality. So let's just imagine you were sitting on a beach and you saw a beautiful sunset. But instead of seeing a beautiful sunset, you had a filter that was yellow, and then one that was gray, and then one that was green, and one that caused warbliness. So when you look through all those filters, instead of seeing that sunset, what you're seeing is a storm.
Eesh.
That's what you see. Okay. You perceive your reality through your filters of your distortion. So then what do? I help you dissolve the filters. Okay. So meaning that at the level of the quantum, you can release them. They're just a wave formation. It's just patterns of frequencies. The thing is, why do you have to do something in terms of what I call confirm the removal? Because you have to step into your authority as co-creator and be like, that pattern of low self-worth or non-deserving or fear of not enough or loneliness or whatever the hell it is, it doesn't need to exist for me. And the crazy thing is that it sounds very simple. You're just like, that sounds like whatever, like fluffy magic. I guess it is, but it's also entirely possible. This is why like thousands of people's lives have changed. Now, the thing is, what happens? Well, I literally release the distortion pattern at the level of the field. It's like gone. At the level of quantum, everything is instant. It doesn't have this silly thing that we call linear time. There's no delay. What changes things in your physical reality? Well, like I said, you have to be aware of the pattern and then release it. So you do have to name the pattern, Karen, right? You're like, well, I don't know what the hell it is. It just feels crappy. Great. You know that it feels crappy. Enough. You know what I mean? You just know that it feels bad, right? And you're like, oh, I just got triggered there. And if you think about it a little bit, you're like, okay, wait, why did I get triggered? Oh, it's because I'm jealous, actually. Or I envy that person and I don't feel like I deserve it or whatever. Okay. And you're like, oh, that's the distortion. Do you see what I'm saying? Like if you, it just takes a little introspection and then you're aware of it. But we're not used to thinking about these things this way because we don't realize that that they're there. We're creating it with our focus because we experience those filters, right? Like in front of the sunset, we experience those still filters. We think they're real. So then what do? We create more of it because we're like, well, that's real. Obviously, right? It's a vicious cycle. I'm not saying it's great. Can you break the cycle? Absolutely. Okay. We are like creating constantly, whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, not intentionally creating is still a choice. I know it kind of like sounds horrifying, like, oh my God. So, but it is. And the thing is that I just want to tell people because I think we can get really obsessive, like, oh my God, I've got all this crap to fix. I got to clear all my distortions in order for anything to change. So backing up out of this, do you need to clear distortions for things to change? From my perspective, yes. Okay, so you believe whatever you want. But from my perspective and what I've seen, yes. And the change can be amazing. Does it mean that you're like eternally wounded, irreparable, and you're going to have like 5 gajillion distortions until you die? Or that you have to erase all of them entirely? No. You just got to release enough in order for your resonance to rise and for things to start to change. And the thing is, what happens is, if you're not just in the mental construct of like, I got to go through this mountain of stuff that I got, and you just release the distortion patterns and stay more in the present moment, which starts to happen as you release your distortions, you start to experience more of the magic of life. You start to experience the synchronicity. You start to experience like these moments that you weren't even aware of before, like these beautiful little moments that you wouldn't have overlooked because you're so busy running around doing the 5 million things on your list. You actually notice like, oh, that was really kind. Or there is this like beautiful quality in the light today, and it just takes you like a couple of seconds. And that also raises your resonance, which allows you to release more. Do you see what happens? It starts to like you want to rise in your resonance. You do as a human. We all do. It's what all beings do at all levels of consciousness. We all want to move up in our resonance. And so the thing is, I think if you look at it just from the standpoint of the mind, it seems like, oh my God, there's this mountain of crap that I'm never going to get out of. But it's not about that. When you raise your resonance enough, you start to experience your heart space. You start to feel yourself as consciousness. You start to recognize the beauty of you, the beauty of life, the brilliance of life. And I'm not saying that in a super like, oh my God, everything's amazing, when it's freaking not, right? I mean, there's a lot of ugliness out there.
Yeah.
It's about being aware of that and being like, no, I choose something different and my experience can be different. And I can create more beauty, more of a rise in resonance by being more of me, and others around me will shift. That's the amazingness of ascension, really.
So when you're saying, oh, I'm sorry.
No, by all means.
Others, you just said others around you will shift. Okay. And you hear, so in all of the interviews that we've had, we've talked to hundreds of people and they talk about how, they quit their jobs and they moved and they left the relationship. And do you have to do all that, or can you just mentally get rid of, does that make any sense what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Like if you're in that work situation, do you have to leave that job and, to get rid of the distortions, or can you just get rid of them in your own mental work and your job will be better?
Yeah. So this is not at the level of the mental. So this is at the level of resonance. I just wanted to make that distinction. And I know it's hard to understand because, and I say that as somebody who used to be very mental and very controlling and very fear-driven. Okay. So I'm not littling it. It was very much my experience. And I was always trying to get someone to freaking tell me how to. I'm like, just tell me what to do, what order to do it in, and I'll do it.
Guilty. Guilty. Yeah.
Right. So I understand your question. Now, what I will say is, as you release your distortions, you start to rise in your resonance, like I've been saying this whole time. But what does that mean? It means nonlinear possibility becomes more possible. So you would be shocked how many people come to me. They're like, I'm having this horrible person in my workplace. I hate them. It's a toxic environment. They're totally abusive, blah, 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 right? That's what happens. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to release whatever the patterns are. And then if they happen to have a one-on-one session with me, which I give less and less of, but anyway, if you happen to have a one-on-one session with me, the number of people who are like, that person got moved to a different group. I was moved to a different group. They quit. I found another work opportunity. Whatever. Things just kind of go like this. And all of a sudden, your reality changes. And it's kind of funny because it's not like you're trying to exactly. I mean, you're in the process of like dealing with your own patterns and you're releasing them. But the more attached you are to a specific outcome, like, a lot of the manifestation processes these days focus on like the technique instead of the distortion. Because look, like I said, you can be a brilliant manifester and all that sort of stuff, but if you're running distortions, you're going to always like be slammed with them no matter what. But the thing is, if you fixate exactly on what it is you're trying to manifest, you kind of limit what is possible. So let's just imagine this work situation again, right? You're like, person toxic. Okay, I'm going to pretend that I don't have this horrible instinct to want them to be hit by a bus, right? Let's just something like nicer than that, right? But the thing is, as your resonance rises, that resonance no longer is compatible with the emanation or the resonance that you are. It drops away. It becomes something else. Now, do you need to know how that happens or what that's going to look like? No. You know what I mean? It just happens. And so I had this wonderful story of this older woman. She was in her 70s when she found me through her daughters. And this woman was in a marriage for almost 50 plus years. So she's of the generation, she married young, was a housewife, raised a family. The house is her, like, I don't know, whatever, domain. And when she started work with me, she announced right off the bat, I want to divorce my husband. I'm like, okay. She really hated him because she'd been married. I was just like, wow, 50 years. Amazing. So anyway, and they're both alive. Incredible. And she really disliked him because she's like, he's overly controlling. I never get a say in anything. And she's of the generation, like my mom, basically, who had to be, who didn't have her own money. So whenever she wanted something for the kids or to do something for herself, she had to ask for money, which she found extremely demeaning and disempowering. So she was like, okay, I want a divorce. And then I need to be able to take care of myself. So what I want to do is I want to be able to sell our house. I'll get half and then I'll be okay. This is her big plan. Okay. This is what she lays out when we start. I'm like, okay. So anyway, we start working. And so I'm helping her to release stuff in one-on-ones. She does a whole bunch of group frequency calibration. She comes to a bunch of different retreats. And she does it very intensively because she's, like I said, she has an outcome. She's like, want to get rid of him, right? That's desired outcome. So as her resonance rises, what happens is he starts to become different. Again, the version of him changes. So at first, he was really resistant to selling the house. She's like, oh God. I'm like, really? It's about you. And she's like, you're right. So she released her distortion patterns. All of a sudden, he changes. And he's like, okay, I hear you. The housing market, I see the housing market getting soft. Let's sell the house. She fights with him about what improvements to do, releases more of her patterns. He acquiesces, things change. They finally sell the house. She's still like, okay, well, I hate him less. That's good. And they seem to be getting along better. And she's softened. Like the person that she became actually through this process is kind of remarkable. But the day after the closing happened, she's like, okay, money hit the bank account, cha-ching. She's like, I'm going to go in and talk to him. Right? And she had the whole thing planned out. She'd already talked to divorce attorneys. She already had bank accounts set up. Like this woman is like prepared. Okay. So, all right. She goes in. She's like, all right, I'm going to go in. I'm going to ask for the divorce. I'm going to ask for my half of the money before she can open her mouth. Okay. And mind you, she just had an IFC like 2 days before because she wanted to go in and have this conversation from a place of neutrality and a centeredness. So anyway, she goes in and he says to her, I've been thinking about it. I really haven't been listening to a lot in our lives. And I feel like we're entering a different chapter. So what I would really like for us to do is for you to manage the profits from our house and for you to decide what we get to do with them. And she was like, what? Who are you? You know what I mean? And because he'd been so controlling of the money and never let her touch it. And she was so flabbergasted, she didn't make her big announcement. Mm-hmm. She was like, what else can change? So get this. They end up using their proceeds to buy a sailboat. She decides to stay with him. They're sailing around the world. I swear to God, it sounds like a movie, but it actually has happened in this woman's life. And they're still together and having a great time. Mm. So now, it's fascinating what changes when you change. Yeah. Everything in your reality is a reflection of you.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I can't help but think you have a great way of explaining concepts and things like that. You should have your own podcast or something. Oh, wait a minute. You are the creative mind behind a very special, not just the podcast, but the platform itself, right? The spherical. Keep me honest here. Was it?
Yes, luminosity.
Spherical luminosity.
Spherical luminosity. Okay. Yeah, and that's for the sphere of pure source energy that is you. Wow. This brilliant ball of light.
Awesome.
Yeah, spherical luminosity.
Well, tell us about that. What is it how do you help people with that?
Well, first of all, thank you for bringing up the podcast. So there are over 250 episodes of Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, which is the name of our podcast. And just like you guys, I know what a labor of love it is to give a podcast. You really have to be in service, actually. So thank you guys for doing what you're doing and bringing what you do to the world because it's important,
right?
Especially right
now. Back at you, especially what you're doing with the frequency stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. And after each podcast episode where we talk about it, so there's always this conversation which is helpful for your mind, but the work is what matters. And so after every single episode, I give away a group frequency calibration that's specific to that episode. So if we're talking about non-deserving, that's what the GFE is on. There are over 250 group frequency calibrations out there for free that you can do. Okay. I also go on YouTube Live every month and I talk about whatever's pressing at the moment. And also, I do a group frequency calibration there live if you want to join that. So there's a lot of free content out there for you if you want to jump in and you want to start to learn more about what frequency work is. And it's a very non-scary way of determining what works for you and what doesn't. And of course, I offer a whole bunch of different things from online workshops to retreats and all that sort of stuff. We were just in Egypt last fall, leading a group of 40 people, and the year before that in Scotland with 50. And so, yeah, we do really important work, not just in terms of for ourselves in terms of our own awakening, our own ascension process, and our own just being able to experience life the most brilliantly possible, but also because as you rise, and I think this is important for people to understand, you have an impact whether you recognize it or not. And so as you rise in resonance, like we talked about before, you ripple out and affect all these people, whether they're seen to you or unseen to you, known to you, whether you, like I said, know your name or not, it doesn't matter. And so what we choose to do at this time, we're in this window of ascension, especially in this year, where consciousness can really truly rise. And I know it looks like hell happening out there. You're like, whoa, ho, okay, meltdown happening, right? Because, old systems are breaking and it's just getting really loud out there. And so it's really for us at this time to be aware of and become and remember who we truly are in terms of this creator being in this brilliant ball of light. So it's an important time right now.
No question about it. If someone wanted to join your groups that are traveling or get a one-on-one, I know you're doing fewer and fewer of them with you, but if someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for someone to do that?
To do that. Yeah. So, I'm going to offer something really special for your listeners. And before I do that, if you want to find anything, just go to sphericalluminosity.com and you can find whatever you want about whatever it is that we're offering. If you join our newsletter, you'll get to hear about all the stuff that we offer. But and you can go to our Instagram channel, spherical_luminosity, or our YouTube channel, and all this content is there for free. But for your listeners, what I wanted to do was offer something really special because I just feel like you guys are doing, I know you have your TV channel and you have this and you're just doing so much to help, the world really. And I appreciate that. And I feel like inspired to offer something for your listeners in sort of honoring of that. And what I'm going to do is offer something very special to your audience, and I'm giving what I call my Resonance Reboot Bundle, which consists of 3 incredibly powerful goodies that I'm, like I said, going to give for free to your listeners. But before I give you the specifics of that, I just want to explain who this is for, because it's not for everybody. Right? So if you're somebody who wants to remove the blocks that keep you stuck, these distortion patterns we've been talking about this whole time, and learn the tools to raise your resonance, to live a life you never thought possible, then this is for you. If you want me to wave my magic little wand over you, not for you. Okay? Not right now.
Dang it.
I don't enable.
All right. I guess I'm out. Yeah.
So, like I said, what you really need to do, no matter how stuck you feel, is to raise your resonance so that how empowered you feel and what your life actually looks like can shift. And that's exactly what I'm going to help you with. So like I said, there are 3 awesome products in the Resonance Reboot Bundle. And the first is what I call the Frequency Accelerator Group Frequency Calibration, which is a mouthful, but it's specifically a very short GFC. It's only 20 minutes long. You can put that puppy on in the background. You don't have to be static, sitting on a cushion, wearing white, meditating. You can throw it on when you're walking the dog.
But can I, though? Because I like wearing white, sitting on cushions. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, you want to burn that incense? Go for it. Yeah. So there's that. That's the first thing. And the second and third parts of the Resonance Reboot Bundle are things that I normally only give to paying clients. Now, these are 2 video workshops that amplify each other. So this is very specific. So number 2 is what I call emptying your teacup, making way for the new. And this, like its title, is to help you start to clear out all the outdated limiting stories and beliefs that are keeping you stuck. The third thing is what I call stability, growth, and opportunity in chaos, which I think we could all use right about now with all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. Yes.
For sure.
So emptying your teacup sells for $99 on our website, and stability, growth, and opportunity in chaos is $4.99 because it's a full-on retreat. So between the two, that's almost $600 in value for free, just for your audience, and you literally cannot find this bundle anywhere else online.
Wow.
And ultimately, this will help you to finally create momentum. Okay, so you can really start to live a life you never thought possible. And if you want access to the Resonance Reboot Bundle, you just have to go to my Instagram, which is at spherical_luminosity. I'm hoping that can be in the show notes. And just DM me the word reboot 111. So once again, if you want the Resonance Reboot Bundle, just go to Instagram, find me spherical_luminosity, and DM me reboot 111, and I'll get that right over to you.
Wow. Well,
that is fantastic.
Good God, Karen. Thank you so much for that. It's incredibly generous.
Wow.
We are absolutely going to add a direct link to not just your Instagram so that people can do that, but also to your website and to your YouTube, because I think that's all is amazing stuff that you're doing for the world. So thank you so much for that. That's incredible. You heard it here. The only way to get it is to listen to the show. So you congratulate yourself because you just heard how to do it. So
now you said it's for our listeners, but can we join in on this? I guess if we re-listen to it.
Right, you gotta listen to it.
Definitely, absolutely. And I just wanted to say one more thing, if you don't mind, and that is like you guys are doing such amazingness, and there's so much like heaviness and fear in the world. Honestly, like it's kind of overwhelming a little bit. And so for anybody who's listening and is still with us at this point in this conversation, please leave a 5-star review for these guys. Okay, on whatever platform.
Thank you.
Because it makes a huge difference, right? So I mean, there's a lot of, let's call it out there, like bad news sometimes travels faster than good, but I feel like the good can really be propagated if all of us help. So anyway, for those of you out there, if you could do that, do me a favor. I left a 5-star review myself. So if you guys could do that, we'd all appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Karen, you are very quickly climbing the ranks of my favorite podcast guests. So thank you so much for that. This conversation reminds me of a quote that Thich Nhat Hanh, in fact, I just stumbled on it earlier today, which is pretty ironic, but this Buddhist monk was talking to his students, and he asks, if you are in a crowded room with a cup of coffee and you get bumped, what can you do? Will you spill your coffee? Right. And of course, all the students are going, well, yes, of course I'm going to spill my coffee. He goes, well, what could you do if to not get your coffee spilled? And they would say, well, carry it higher or make sure the coffee's lower. He goes, no, the answer is instead of coffee in your cup, make it be water. Because then you'd be spilling water. And the story is inevitably you're going to get bumped. So what is in your cup that you're going to spill? Is it negativity or is it positivity and love? And so we invite you to fill your cup with water instead of coffee. Karen,
awesome.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Absolutely loved the conversation.
So much fun.
I am very much looking forward to staying in contact because this was fantastic. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, well, that does it for this episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Thanks for coming along on this journey beyond the veil. If you're enjoying the ride, don't forget to visit us at skepticmetaphysician.com to dive even deeper into the world of metaphysics and spiritual awakenings. Follow us also on your favorite social media platforms. We're always sharing mind-expanding content and behind-the-scenes fun. And hey, if you're feeling the vibes, help others find us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It makes a huge difference, and we would be so grateful. Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, but most of all, keep your mind open.